Well, folks, here we are again for the weekly forecast. Of course, the big news has been the continuation of the impacts felt from the blizzard that hit western South Dakota and, of course, the northern panhandle of Nebraska. The cattle losses have been fairly exceptional, and by all best estimates, they're indicating maybe 5% of the total cattle population of South Dakota was lost during this storm. And the big issue right now is, of course, dealing with the residual snow that's left over, trying to locate cattle that have been wandering around and those that have perished in the storm. And unfortunately, with this new system that came out over this past 48 hours and another one projected to move out early next week, the areas that were hit with this heavy snowfall are likely to see 1 to possibly 3 inches of rainfall on top of that snow. So it's going to be a real mess. Couldn't buy the rain when we needed it, and now we're getting too much of a good thing in too short of a time scale. And with that rain, we also expect the rain to invade most of the state of Nebraska, so there's an opportunity to catch another 1 to possibly 2 inches of rainfall over this next 5-day period, which gives us a real good start on the soil moisture for the 2014 growing season, but unfortunately, it's going to cause some planting delay issues. And on top of it all, it does appear that enough cold air is coming with this next system early next week that we will bring in a fairly significant freeze risk to the northern 2/3 of the state. And by all accounts, most likely everybody will see very close to freezing conditions, at least those areas south of I-80. So let's take a look at the upper air models and see how they're going to progress these storms that should impact us over this next few days. And as we go to the upper air models, we'll draw your attention to the first system that had moved out of the central Rockies and is now situated over the core of that upper air low is situated over Wisconsin and the western Great Lakes. And so in its wake, we should see fairly benign conditions today. It's going to be slightly cooler than we've been experiencing the last few days, but overall we're not expecting any major precipitation. But we'll draw your attention to this trough that's digging in behind this first trough that pushed out. This one is expected to make its way across our region as we go through the weekend and the early part of next week and bring a very widespread rain event to us. So by the time we get to tomorrow, we can start to see this storm system taking shape. Pulling down a lot of cold air on its backside, we should see some significant snow accumulations in the central Rockies, building on top of the snow that fell a little over a week ago. So the snow season is actually getting off to a good start. And as we go into Monday, the system starts to make its way into our region, and the precipitation across western Nebraska should break out late Sunday night and really start to get us going as we go through Monday, and we'll start pulling the cold air in behind it. Right now, there is no indication that we're going to see significant accumulations of snow. We may see a few flakes as the cold air arrives on Tuesday, but overall that should be across northern Nebraska, and it should not be significant in terms of accumulations. As we get to Tuesday, this upper air low is moving toward Wisconsin, but we're going to have a lot of cold air on the backside and a lot of widespread heavy cloudiness and, unfortunately, rainfall associated with it. And that system should make its way into the eastern Great Lakes as we get into Tuesday evening. So by the time we get to Wednesday morning, we're going to be seeing that cold air filtering into our region, and there's a very good possibility that we will see hard freeze conditions possibly Wednesday morning and most definitely Thursday morning as the cold air funnels down through southern Canada into our region. We will see clearing conditions with no precipitation, but that cold air will remain in place as this trough strengthens over the Great Lakes and pulls in cold air, particularly across the northeastern 1/3 of the state on Thursday. And by the time we get to Friday, we start to see that trough lifting out toward the Great Lakes, and we start to see a ridging pattern building in to give us some drying conditions moving into the region for next weekend. Now, as we look at the temperatures, this is where things get a little dicey. We are going to slowly warm up on Saturday and possibly Monday before the temperatures drop and the bottom drops out. We'll be looking at highs in the low 40s up in the northwest part of the state to possibly the mid-50s across the southern part of the state, and then we will start to see a gradual warming trend toward next weekend. And if we look at the temperatures, that slow cooling trend will slowly evaporate from next Thursday to the following Tuesday, so we'll see below normal temperatures, but not that significantly below normal. In terms of precipitation, we start to see the impacts of that ridge building in as drier air starts to work into our region, so we may actually start to see some decent harvest activity beginning late next weekend.